There is a saying that's very important when discussing the philosophy behind massive multiplayer online games, and it is that MMOs must either adapt or die. As such, pretty much every MMO goes through a series of updates, patches, or expansions to stay relevant and introduce new content into the game. World of Warcraft is no different, and today I want to open a window into a very particular time in the game's history, one at the precipice of great change both within the game and without, patch 3.3.5. This was the last true content update to Wrath of the Lich King, and what many players might regard as the finale, or perhaps epilogue for the original trilogy of the game. Let's take a trip back into the past, and with all that being said, let's get right into it. June 22nd, 2010. Icecrown Citadel, stronghold of the Lich King and the last major raid of the Frigid expansion, has been conquered for over 6 months. The community, while riding high from this climactic final battle, is also looking ahead to the whispers of doom on the horizon. World of Warcraft Cataclysm, which had been announced at BlizzCon the previous year, with its release a few more months away, and being pitched as the largest expansion in history, Cataclysm proved to be something of a wait, but the amount of new content was sure to be worth it. To tide players over, Blizzard launched patch 3.3.5, Defending the Ruby Sanctum, in late June of 2010, an update that, despite its relatively small size, caused a disproportionately large stir within the community. Let's begin with the lore. The Ruby Sanctum, a new 10 or 25 person raid, could now be found through the red portal underneath Wormrest Temple. This is connected to the Ruby Sanctum itself, a small pocket dimension where the red dragonflight protects its eggs. Recently though, the black dragonflight has invaded to herald the coming of Deathwing and steal the eggs for themselves. Halion, the first fully grown Twilight Dragon, is at the forefront of this assault, and the final boss of the raid, waiting for his minions to be dispatched before showing himself in the center of the area. This contrast between the rampaging dragons and the serene red trees and grassy hills makes for a really cool dynamic, and it almost makes you wonder what sorts of other cool things could be hidden behind the other 3 portals of the blue, green, and bronze flights. From a continuity perspective, this raid is also a great stepping stone between the issues of the dragons in Northrend and the looming rise of Deathwing.
Relish this victory, mortals, for it will be your last. This world will burn with the Master's return.
You can even find these Twilight's Hammer banners around the map, which further tie back to Deathwing and the cult that would become such a major antagonist in the upcoming expansion. Another interesting point to make is how the Ruby Sanctum affected gear progression during this time period. This was the first time a raid had been added after another larger raid within the same tier, making for a different content cadence than players were used to throughout Vanilla and the Burning Crusade. The mini-bosses and Halion drop emblems of frost as well, meaning they were seen as equivalent to the bosses in Icecrown Citadel. While this meant the shorter raid could be used as a sort of catch-up encounter in place of the massive ICC, from what I can gather, most players didn't seem to mind having another route of progressing their gear. It was something new during a content drought in the game. This would be the last map ever added to Wrath of the Lich King, making it the end of this chapter in WoW's history. I'd now like to introduce my fellow WoW content creator, AllThingsNerd, who's going to approach this map from a different angle, how to explore it out of bounds, and when we come back, we have a few more pieces of history to go over.
Hey everyone, my name is Nathan. I run the AllThingsNerd World of Warcraft Out of Bounds YouTube channel. And before we begin, I just want to say thank you to Jediwarlock for having me and collabing on this video together. This is an amazing and just a really blessed opportunity, and so I just want to say thank you to him. Now, I'm going to be showing you guys how I break out of the Ruby Sanctum and how you can do it too. Now, I'm actually playing on retail, and I'm actually playing on a Demon Hunter, and a lot of you may know that Demon Hunter is the best class for exploration, and the reason being is because their kit is absolutely loaded. Now, a few mentions for Classic are actually a Warrior, a Mage, and a anybody who can really just jump or leap forward is probably best for classic players. Now, I don't play a lot of classic myself, I'll be honest with you guys. I did grow up playing, but I don't really have a high-tuned classic character. I did play a little bit of Season Discovery, but that was about it. So I mainly just play retail. So today I'm going to be showing you how I break out of retail, and yeah, I hope you enjoy. Where I'm at on the map is right over here in this location. So you come out of the raid entrance, you take a right, and I'll just be right over here, tucked away in the corner. Now, when I jump up this mountain here and I glide up here with my demon hunter, I'm actually getting stopped by an invisible barrier, invisible wall. That's what we're wanting to get past, because when we do that, it's going to allow us to see what is beyond the mountains here in the Ruby Sanctum. What's hiding back there? What does the developers not want us to see? So that's what we're going to be doing. We're going to be breaking out of bounds, and I'm going to show you how right now. Now, when you're playing a demon hunter, which I recommend you always play for out of bounds exploration, just because of their kit being so great, you're going to want to use your infernal strike on the hill over here. Right here, you'll be able to jump out, and there we go. We're already out of bounds. Now, if you walk forward this way, you will get back into the map, so do be careful. So what I'm going to do is just turn directly around, and we're going to head straight up the hill here. Now, I wanted to come up here because one of the cool things about doing out of bounds exploration is you get these awesome views, and you can just see exactly how big or how small the maps are when you're doing in a out of bounds in a raid, in a dungeon, and you can see that the Ruby Sanctum isn't that big. It's actually pretty small for the most part. Back in Classic, obviously, you can see the Ruby Sanctum for what it is, because you didn't get this feeling that you do in retail, where you're flying around the map and you can see the whole world in front of you, because the graphics and, you know, our technology and hardware is different. Back in Classic days, you didn't get that, right? You explored the maps and they felt huge, they felt alive, they felt like right in your face, like you could feel the world of Azeroth around you. Sadly, you don't really get that feeling anymore. Blizzard has done a great job of keeping up with the game and the out of bounds scenery that you do get to see, but yeah, it's just kind of sad that we don't get like this feeling of exploring Azeroth like we should. Now, we're actually going to head out this way, and I'm actually going to switch to my Havoc class here, and the reason being is because I want the Fel Rush, and the Fel Rush allows me to actually save myself if, just in case I walk off a cliff. We're actually going to mount back up as well, and we're going to keep on moving up the hill here. Some of the crazy stuff, as you'll see here, is you just have a lot of empty, unused space in the back here. So you have the Ruby Sanctum that's so beautiful and surrounded by the red leaves of the trees and all that, and you come out of bounds and you can just see it's just an actually open gray map filled with nothing in the background. So Blizzard does do a great job of smoking mirrors, and they are able to mask exactly what's living back here. But if we actually make our way out this way, we can see that also a lot of the out of bounds has like these weird textured, I don't know, gray or black spaces. A lot of times they have like these markings on the ground, or brown markings, or sometimes they're blue like you can see here, and sometimes they're green or pink or whatever. And you just get to see like these lush colors outside the map that you normally don't get to see inside. And sometimes Blizzard will actually even hide messages outside the maps as well. So for instance, if you're ever doing the Gate of the Setting Sun in Mist of Pandaria, you'll actually see a hidden message of Mantis. And as you know, you fight mantises in the actual dungeon of the bugs. So that's kind of fun to see too. I don't believe there's actually any hidden messages outside the Ruby Sanctum, but that's one of the awesome things you can see outside of OOB of maps. Now, as we actually come up here, we're going to see a piece of land. This is really interesting that Blizzard does a lot too, is a lot of times outside of out of bounds maps, they'll actually do a lot of testing. And so you'll see here that, I don't know if this was a testing map or not, but they'll put like these broken pieces of land out in the distance. So you can see like there's a cavern here forming out the ground. There's another cavern here forming out the ground. And they just kind of stack them on each other, or they kind of split them apart. And those are always kind of neat to go explore as well. And one of the cool tools that I was recently introduced to, and I didn't know actually the potion existed in the game until one of my good OOB buddies who's in the All Things Nerd community, shout out to True Hero. He helps me a lot with finding out of bounds exploration stuff. he actually showed me these what's called Stinky Bright potions, and I use these a lot in my Out of Bounds exploration videos because they make the whole world just look, the dungeons and raids, from a whole different perspective. I'm going to show you guys here. So you have the normal skybox, you have the red and the twinkling of the stars, and you have all of this, but when you actually drink this potion, it lights the whole world up around you. And so it brings a whole new atmosphere to the game that you normally don't get to see. So if you actually go into a raid or a dungeon that is, you know, pitch black, or you really can't see because it's at night or whatever, you can drink this potion and it will actually light up the skybox, which is really neat. And you can actually get the sun over here, and it just kind of gives you like this awesome effect of the clouds and all that. But before I pass it over to Jedi, I just want to thank you guys for joining me on this Out of Bounds little mini exploration of the Ruby Sanctum. We're going to fly back into the map, and this is one of my favorite things to do when I'm doing Out of Bounds exploration, is you're able to do these long, like, Batman glides across the map, and I don't know, I think it looks really cool. But yeah, guys, that's it. As always, my name is Nathan. I'm going to pass it back over to Jedi. Take care.
For those of you interested in the Out of Bounds WoW community or want to learn more about it, he makes great content, and the views of Azeroth he finds are unlike anything you've ever seen. Apart from the Ruby Sanctum, patch 335 introduced one other main thing into the game, the infamous Real ID system. An update to the WoW friend features that allowed users to share their real names to trusted friends, connect more easily across different Blizzard games, and much more. This ended up turning into a PR nightmare for Blizzard just a few weeks into the patch, when they announced on July 6th they would be requiring Real ID names to be displayed for all users on the public forums. An obvious privacy issue. There was an immediate backlash unlike anything the game had faced before, and 3 days later, Blizzard backed down, but the damage had been done. In the 2 years since Activision had acquired Blizzard, nothing outside the scope of the game had had such an effect on the community, except maybe for the introduction of the Celestial Steed into the item shop. Times were changing, and this patch was right in the middle of it. It becomes more clear that this patch, a footnote in most histories of WoW, had a substantial impact on the game and its player base. There's a reason why so many private clients, and even Wrath of the Lich King Classic, were built on this specific version of the game. The most complete version of Classic WoW, the finished version of that original trilogy. I'm not saying Cataclysm is all bad, far from it, but I think it's worth examining what we left behind, and what took almost 10 years to get back from Blizzard. This patch was the end of an era and the beginning of a new one, which saw Activision and monetization become ever more linked to a new Azeroth, one reforged by Deathwing's flames forever. MMOs must either adapt or die, and yet World of Warcraft is something of an anomaly in this principle. Permanent Classic era servers have been doing surprisingly well, players have been looking forward to the War Within, the latest retail expansion, and custom vanilla private servers have seen thousands of players join in recent years, proving there's not one single route that guarantees success in the MMO environment. As for me, I'll always be a Classic and Wrath player at heart, but I do find it fascinating to cover these crucial points in the game's history and see what we can learn from them. Thank you all so much for watching, and until next time, may the Force be with you.